Billy back here with Broship of the Nerds. And last night I went and saw a movie with a friend of mine called Perfect Addiction. So this movie, we drove about a little bit under an hour to see it because it was only playing at select theaters. They did a limited release Monday 7 p.m. and Wednesday 7 p.m. We obviously saw it last night at 7 p.m. and it's also on Prime Video or Amazon. Um, so let's talk about the movie. Amazing, just amazing. So Kiana Madeira, who is my favorite actress, she stars as Sienna Lane, and she's the narrator of the film, which was really cool for this type of a movie. I'm not normally into fighting films like MMA stuff, but this had like fighting, drama, romance, a little bit of everything that you would want. And I thought they executed it really well. So Kiana Madeira stands out in this film. She's a star, very good. The Fear Street films, Trinkets as Mo. She did a film that I need to check out called Brother, but a really good actress. She starred alongside, I'm going to butcher the name here, Matthew Nozka or Nazca. He played Jax, which was the boyfriend she has in the beginning, and he is a champion MMA fighter. But then things take a turn. Um, he cheats on her with her own sister, as shown in the previews, and it's just tragic. They have like this addictive relationship where they're that young love, where she really has fallen for him, and he gets hurt, and she takes care of him, gets him back to health, but it's always been about him. So what happens is he starts getting better and she goes to get him his supplements and like protein shakes and stuff because she's a MMA trainer. And, like I said, she's very young and she's a college student. Well, then she walks into him and her 18-year-old sister having sex. So this leads her, she kind of takes a fall and she is looking for a place to stay. So she is told about a roommate or a guy looking for a roommate from her friend Brent. And Brent tells her about Caden Williams, who is played by Ross Butler. And I knew I recognized him, or thought I did. He played Reggie in Riverdale at the beginning of the show, and then they switch actors. But I really liked him as Reggie, and I like the new actor as Reggie. But anyways, and he also is in 13 Reasons Why. He did a great job. He says he doesn't want that she's not his problem. And so at first he doesn't take to being a roommate, but then um, there is a fight, like an MMA underground fight between Caden and Jax, and Sienna shows up, and her buddy Brent's there, and those two have a fight, but it gets in. Jaden's about to lose, but then it gets broken up and they arrest some people, so everybody flees. So the fight never gets to finish. So they decide to have a rematch. And so Sienna says, "Look, I will train you 6 days a week. You'll be training. You'll have one day of rest in every seven because rest days are important. And then in exchange, I will be able to stay here." So he agrees and she starts training him. And they go to a coach who really knows his stuff when it comes to fighting, Julian, who's played by Manu Bennett. And so they go to him, and he starts training with them. And he says, "Look, keep it professional between you two, and I will help." Well, then of course things turn, and they're having a scene where they're like throwing paint on each other, and eventually he kind of pushes himself away from her, Jaden does, and then she goes for a run, and he comes up to her and kisses her, and then they start talking about kind of like what's happened in his life a little bit. As the film goes, you learn a little bit more. There's a wedding where her friend Brent's getting married, and of course Sienna's in the bathroom, and or in a room, I should say, maybe not a bathroom, but in a room. And Jax comes in and starts trying to like flirt with her and stuff. And then Jaden comes in, and then did I say Jaden? Hayden, I'm sorry. Hayden comes in, and Caden comes in. I'm getting my names mixed up here. And Jack starts a fight with him and breaks his rib. So Caden has a broken rib now, and we're getting ready for the final fight. And Sienna says you can't, or the coach that's helped says you can't fight like that. And he says, well, I better just not let him hit me then in the rib. And the fight happens, and at first the fight's going, and then Sienna shows up, and Caden's losing at first because he gets hit in that rib. If he didn't have that rib broken, he probably would have been done better. But then Caden gets the comeback, gets the win, and you think you're going to happily ever after. But then after the fight's over, whenever he's hugging Sienna, Jax goes to punch Caden and ends up hitting her instead. So Sienna's in like unconscious. She's out for like 3 days. But when she wakes up, she has a note from Caden talking about how like it basically is better for her to be on her own to recover and get her life together kind of thing. So he flees. And you think that's going to be it. She's training with the coach, and then Caden comes in and apologizes. They make up, and then they're talking about somebody going pro. And they're like, "There's no way you're ready yet." And he goes, "It's not me, it's her." So she's going to become a pro fighter because she's really good. In the film, there was a woman that was undefeated that she beat in a spar. So that's kind of like what happens in the story. Um, the whole thing with her and Jax is very toxic, and Jax is very, very toxic. Like he pulls people in, pulls these women in, and then he uses their weaknesses against them, kind of thing. And it's all about him. And even like the sister obviously shouldn't have. You don't sleep with your sisters or brothers significant other. That's just a low blow. That's out of bounds. And so that was horrible. And Jax gets even more toxic. And then Caden's really good for her, and they have really good on-screen chemistry. I thought this couple was really good. And I did find out there are two books that this is based on. The first book was called Perfect Addiction, and there's a sequel, which I am hoping we see another film of this. This was really, really good and good storytelling. Um, Go check it out. You can't see it in theaters anymore, but you can watch it on Prime. Check it out. It's worth a watch. Kiana shines in this. In fact, the whole cast does. Everybody was great in this. I think it's a must-watch film. I might be a little biased because she is my favorite actress, but the story, as I explained in a review on IMDb, it feels like a half hour, but it's like an hour and 47 minutes. It goes by that quick. It's just such good pacing. There isn't a lot of like slow moments. There's always story building, character development, that sort of thing. So this is definitely a film worth checking out. 2 thumbs up for me. I think it's amazing. All right, guys, take care, and there'll be more videos coming up as it is WrestleMania week.